What have SPLC's donors done in light of this criminal indictment? They've not lined up to file class action suits or to denounce the SPLC. They continue to support the SPLC's works. Donations to the organization have gone up.
If donors were not defrauded, and no donors have come forward, to my knowledge, suggesting that they were unaware of what the SPLC was doing, that program has been known for a long time, and so that creates a problem.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanch falsely claimed on Fox News that the DOJ had, quote, no information, unquote, that suggested SPLC shared information collected through its informant program with federal law enforcement. This was obviously a lie.
The Southern Poverty Law Center has spent 55 years fighting the Klan, suing neo-Nazis, and sharing intelligence with the FBI. Now the Trump administration has indicted the organization on 11 counts. The charge is fraud. But the donors aren't complaining, and legal experts are calling the case one of the weakest they've ever seen. So what's actually going on? Before we get to the indictment, it's worth knowing what this organization has actually done.
Created in 1971, headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama, the Southern Poverty Law Center is one of America's leading civil rights groups. It fights for voting rights throughout the South, economic justice, and criminal justice reform. Like every major civil rights group in our history, in 1988, the SPLC litigated against the Southern whites of the Ku Klux Klan, the Southern white knights of the Ku Klux Klan, and drove them into bankruptcy, winning $1 million damages verdict on behalf of more than 50 peaceful civil rights marchers in Forsyth County, Georgia, who had been savagely attacked and injured by the Klan.
They also won a $14 million judgment against the founder of the neo-Nazi Daily Stormer for orchestrating a campaign of more than 700 death threats against a Jewish woman and her family.
SPLC shared information about a particular white nationalist group, Atomwaffen, and to prevent a terrorist attack in Las Vegas in 2019. Again, in 2018, the SPLC shared information with the FBI and with law enforcement about potential criminal activity by a member of the Vanguard America.
A synagogue bombing prevented, a naval yard attack disrupted, information shared with 3 FBI field offices before Charlottesville. This is the organization the government just indicted.
The SPLC has worked closely with the FBI for decades and turned over to the Bureau voluminous information, tips and leads from their field sources for further investigation, criminal arrest, and prosecution. In 2017, the FBI listed the SPLC as one of its partners on its website, where it remained for 8 or 9 years before this administration.
For decades, they did the same work the FBI pays informants $40 million a year to do. Nobody called it fraud until now. So what does the indictment actually say, and does it hold up?
At its core, the indictment claims that SPLC defrauded its donors and betrayed its stated mission to dismantle hate groups by paying informants who, quote, were either associated with violent extremist organizations or had infiltrated such organizations at the SPLC's direction.
That's the charge, but fraud requires a victim. So the question becomes, who was defrauded?
What have SPLC's donors done in light of this criminal indictment? They've not lined up to file class action suits or to denounce the SPLC. They continue to support the SPLC's works. Donations to the organization have gone up since this fraudulent indictment.
No class action, no complaints. Donations went up. Compare that to an actual fraud.
Consider a fraud called Trump University, a scam from top to bottom where 9,000 victims joined 3 different class action lawsuits to complain about the fact that they were cheated out of thousands of dollars for a university that existed in name only, without a real curriculum, without real professors, without an actual campus, or any way to keep their extravagant and seductive promises to their students. The thousands of outraged victims were not silent. They came forward to complain, and they won a $25 million settlement.
9,000 victims, 3 lawsuits, $25 million settlement. That's what fraud looks like. The SPLC case has 0 victims and 0 lawsuits from donors.
Veteran prosecutors have called this indictment frail and deficient, and particularly weak. One federal civil rights prosecutor, an FBI agent, even stated, and I quote, I don't think any prosecutor with white-collar experience would look at this indictment and believe it makes out the elements of a crime.
Frail, deficient, doesn't make out a crime. So if the case is this weak, why bring it? To understand the indictment, you have to understand who brought it and why.
It is in this realm in which the prosecutor picks some person whom he dislikes or desires to embarrass, or selects some group of unpopular persons and then looks for an offense, that the greatest danger of abuse of the prosecuting power lies. It is here that law enforcement becomes personal, and the real crime becomes that of being unpopular with the predominant or governing group.
That was Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson in 1940. Here's what's happening in 2026.
Shortly after the indictment was announced, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanch falsely claimed on Fox News that the DOJ had, quote, no information, unquote, that suggested SPLC shared information collected through its informant program with federal law enforcement. In fact, DOJ was forced to walk back Blanch's false claim after SPLC filed a motion to address the government's, quote, materially false statements.
The acting attorney general went on national television and made a false statement about a material fact in his own prosecution. DOJ had to retract it.
Todd Blanch wants to create a $1.776 billion taxpayer-funded slush fund to turn the January 6 foot soldiers into mega millionaires. And while systematically firing prosecutors and FBI agents who worked on the January 6 investigation, the largest criminal probe in American history, Trump and Blanch are putting January 6 rioters, violent extremists, and their closest allies in key positions throughout the DOJ.
Prosecute the civil rights group. Pardon the insurrectionists. Pay them with taxpayer money. That's the priority. By the end of the hearing, one question kept coming back.
If Congress tries to diminish SPLC and dismiss its warnings about groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, what lessons would we miss about the threat posed by organized domestic extremism to our American democracy?
The lessons we would miss is that all of us are less safe with the threat of domestic terrorism, that these groups that both express hate, that express white supremacy, that terrorize various groups are a danger to all of us. And we need to know about them. We need to know about what they say.
3 fathers were killed defending a mosque in San Diego last month. The shooters were teenagers radicalized by the same groups the SPLC has been tracking for decades.
So on May 18th of this year, 2 teenage gunmen opened fire on a mosque in San Diego, California, and they murdered 3 people. Then they turned their weapons on themselves before law enforcement could apprehend them. These assailants, they were teenagers. They were children. And children are not born with hate. They are taught hate.
The Atomwaffen division is one of the groups that we shared intelligence on and was behind the threatened massacre in Las Vegas.
That's right.
The organization that helped prevent a synagogue bombing is now the one being prosecuted. The groups that inspired 2 teenagers to murder 3 fathers are not.
But the targeting of the organization harkens the very danger Justice Jackson warned about, that law enforcement becomes personal and the real crime becomes that of being unpopular with the predominant or governing group, being attached to the wrong political views, or being personally obnoxious to or in the way of the prosecutor himself.
The SPLC says every charge is false. Legal experts call the indictment one of the weakest in recent memory. No donors have complained. No victims have come forward. Donations have increased, but 11 counts are on the docket. And the acting attorney general already had to retract one of his own statements about the case. For 55 years, this organization fought the Klan, warned the FBI, and prevented terrorist attacks. Now the question isn't whether they broke the law, it's why this government is trying so hard to break them.